But we also have to start thinking about things like legal ballot harvesting, something we've never embraced as a party. We're going to start doing it now. I'm going to have a call very soon with Scott Pressler, who is an amazing vote registrar. He has registered so many people in this country. I think he's fantastic. I want him on our legal ballot harvesting division. We also have to embrace early voting, Benny. I know we want one day of voting in this country. It doesn't exist right now. We've got to bank enough votes going into November 5th that we're not playing catch up on election day.
All right, guys. So we got to talk about the changes at the RNC. As President Trump's daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, has taken over as co-chair of the RNC after Ronald McDaniels, aka Miss Ronald Romney, right, was ousted, okay, because she did a bad job, okay? The GOP has not been doing great in elections since she took over, and she ultimately lost her job, okay? I mean, there were allegations of misuse of funds. She's out here taking lavish trips, vacations, living it up, okay, while the GOP is losing election after election after election, okay? I mean, you look at the amount of money that the RNC was raising versus how much they were spending on winning elections. It left a lot to be desired and a lot of questions about where are the priorities, okay? Are we actually really trying to win? What are we spending our money on that people are donating to help the Republican Party win and advance the conservative agenda in this country? And Vivek was one of the first people to come out and to publicly call for the ouster of Miss Ronna McDaniels at a GOP debate. And I think that this is what really got the ball rolling for major change at the RNC. Take a look.
Swami, let me turn to you. Please make your case. Why should you be the nominee and not the former president?
I think there's something deeper going on in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer to the Republican establishment. Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats, and we've got Kristen Welker here, you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, I mean, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer the question. Go.
Mr. Ross.
Sorry. This is how we get our country back. We need accountability because this media rigged the 2016 election. They rigged the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
and they're going to rig this election.
Your time is up.
Accountability.
Let me turn to Governor Christie.
Yeah, absolutely legendary moment. Legendary moment that honestly should go down in Republican Party history from Vivek Ramaswamy calling for the ouster of Miss Ronna McDaniels for her failure to help the GOP secure victories in our elections, right? Which is what the main job should be, right? If you ain't winning, okay, if you're not performing, then you should be fired. I don't care who it is, you should go, okay? And Lara Trump has taken over, and I gotta tell you guys, I'm really liking the Trump takeover of the RNC and the things they're talking about in regards to helping right the ship, okay? And the mainstream liberal media is currently freaking out about it. And the fact that the mainstream liberal media is freaking out about it tells you that they're probably making the right moves. And I want to react to it because, once again, we have the mainstream liberal media giving us reasons why we should love what is happening with the RNC. So before we get into it, we have to have a word from the sponsor of this video, Aura. Guys, so I got to tell you about something crazy that I used to do to freak out my friends, which is just to Google their names, okay? I would Google their names, and then I would see how much information I could find on them online and then send it to them. Not only were my friends shocked, but I was also shocked about how much information I could find about my friends online, including their full names, their phone numbers, their email addresses, their physical addresses, their family members, and much more. A lot of information that, quite honestly, is very uncomfortable to know is readily online to find for anybody looking for information about you. And this is because you have data brokers who are making a killing selling your data, your personal information to scammers, robocallers, and anybody who's willing to pay for that information. And this is why I'm excited to tell you guys about the sponsor of this video, Aura. Aura is an online security and data protection suite, all-in-one solution to help keep you and your family members protected online. Like, for example, Aura can identify data brokers exposing your info online and submit opt-out requests to have your data removed from their website. Now, if a request is made, data brokers are legally required to remove it. However, they try to make it as hard as possible to do so. But don't worry, with Aura, they make it easy if you just allow them to handle everything. Honestly, guys, I was impressed the first time I logged into Aura to see that they had already identified some threats that I was exposed to, and they cleared it up immediately. Now, remember, Aura is an all-in-one security suite. It includes a parental control system, VPN, password management, identity theft protection, and much more. And the best part about it is that it's all included for one affordable price. Everything in one. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping you and your family safe online so that you can do other tasks with peace of mind. You can either let people continue to exploit and profit off of your personal information, or you can go to aura.com/BCP to start your 2-week trial for free. Also, the link is in the description below. So don't wait. Go ahead and sign up to protect you and your family and your information online at aura.com/BCP.
From Donald Trump's daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, who now runs the RNC, about voting in America. They're from a new video that's been posted online. In it, she spells out a goal, which, if achieved, would radically reshape U.S. voting laws and impose broad new draconian restrictions. And she implies that her father-in-law is on board.
Once Donald Trump is president of the United States, once we have a huge majority in the House, because that's also something that needs to happen this election cycle, and we take back the Senate, then you can change the voting laws. Then you could have one day of voting. You could have paper ballots. You could have voter ID.
What's wrong with that? Right? What's wrong with that? I don't see what is wrong with that. Okay, the only thing that I would add to that, I think, is that Republicans, if that's what we're going to push for, which I agree we should push for that, we should also push for making Election Day a holiday, right? We should get rid of Juneteenth, okay, or one of these other useless holidays, and make Election Day a holiday, right? That's what we should do, okay? That is actually what should happen, okay? So, outside of that, I don't have any other recommendations. I think that what she's saying, it should be the goal, right? Because that's what other countries do in regards to their elections. Like, for example, France, no early voting, in person, paper ballots, hand counted, okay? And it doesn't take forever for them to count the ballots to decide who wins, okay? They basically already know the night of or the next day who won, okay? It's not that complicated, okay? This is an old school system that works and it instills trust in the process. Meanwhile, the complicated and modernized process of the United States of America, for example, it takes forever to count votes. Like California, they're still counting the votes from the Democrat primary, right? I mean, they haven't even finished counting the votes from that election. It's been like a week. So again, it doesn't make any sense. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, okay? And yeah, I'm totally on board with what Laura Trump is talking about here in her vision moving forward. I don't see anything wrong with what she's saying, but the fact that the mainstream liberal media is freaking out about this tells you everything you need to know.
It's a breathtaking goal, calling for, quote, 1 day of voting, meaning an end to early voting and an end to mail-in voting. Roughly 100 million Americans voted early in 2020. She's also pushing the right-wing plan to enact stricter voter ID laws, which would have a disparate impact on communities of color.
Again, here they are, still push that nonsense about how voter ID is racist, right? Voter ID is voter suppression. But yet, we had record voter turnout in states like Georgia, who passed laws that allegedly are voter suppression, right? Their voter ID laws, the laws that the mainstream liberal media was freaking out over. Okay, the MLB freaked out over so much that they decided to move their All-Star game from Atlanta to, I think, Colorado in protest. Okay, they were making such a big deal about it. Yeah, it turns out that more black people than ever voted in the Georgia midterms, despite the so-called voter suppression. Again, somebody explain how that works, okay? Because if your vote is being suppressed, then you would think that there would be less voting, okay? However, there are more voters, right? More people are turning out to vote despite the so-called suppression. Maybe I'm ignorant, right? Maybe I'm ignorant on how voter suppression is supposed to work, but I don't think so, because these people can't provide any facts, evidence, or data to actually tell you how many votes are being suppressed, right? Again, ask any of these people, any of these individuals, just one question. How many votes are being suppressed? How many people have been stopped from voting because of GOP voter suppression laws? I guarantee you, none of them will be able to give you a solid answer, right? They will not be able to give you a solid number because it's made up, right? It's nonsense, okay? Nobody's vote is being suppressed, okay? If you are not responsible enough or smart enough to get an ID, then you probably shouldn't vote. That's how I feel about it.
It's an extreme agenda. And
an extreme agenda, right? An extreme agenda, okay, to have integrity in our elections, right? That's an extreme agenda, according to MSNBC. Amazing, fascinating stuff.
Should note that later in that very same video, Lara Trump inadvertently revealed she understands the importance of early voting by telling Republicans to vote early this cycle so the GOP can gain power and change the laws in the future. And she didn't end at voting laws. She also talked about RNC plans to train poll workers.
Something the Republican National Committee was not able to do for a long time, and we are now. There was a moratorium on trained poll workers. So these are people who are not just standing in there kind of looking around. These are people who can actually go in there and physically handle the ballots. They can count the ballots coming in, count the ballots going out.
And that's not all. Under new MAGA leadership, the RNC is also bringing a prominent election denier into its upper ranks, hiring former Trump attorney and former far-right TV host Christina Bobb as, quote, senior counsel for election integrity. Bobb worked to raise money for the GOP's Arizona election audit. She publicly urged Mike Pence not to certify the 2020 election results. She even wrote a book called Stealing Your Vote, which pushed the big lie and included an introduction by Steve Bannon. Joining me now is David Jolly, former Republican congressman from Florida. He is no longer affiliated with that party. David, it's good to see you. I want to play those new comments from Lara Trump again, because they're that important. And then I want to get your take on the other side. Take a quick listen.
Once Donald Trump is president of the United States, once we have a huge majority in the House, because that's also something that needs to happen this election cycle, and we take back the Senate, then you can change the voting laws. Then you could have one day of voting. You could have paper ballots. You could have voter ID.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what the real issue here is, right? This is what they're really upset about, okay? What she is upset about is the fact that Lord Trump has said that, yeah, we're going to try to take advantage of early voting, okay, which is something that Republicans should do, right? I mean, yes, the goal should be to change the system, right, to, get the system to a place where it is trustworthy, okay? But in order to do that, unfortunately, you have to play the enemy's game, okay? You have to engage in legal ballot harvesting. You have to do mail-in voting. Okay, you have to do early voting in order to win, right? You got to do what you got to do in order to actually win, okay? And once you do what you got to do to win, then you can make the changes that you want to make. Now, again, what MSNBC is freaking out about is not the changes that she wants to make, but the fact that Lord Trump has come out here and basically said that, yeah, we have to start taking advantage of these things, right? We have to start taking advantage of early voting, mail-in voting, ballot harvesting, all these things, okay, legal means of helping us win, okay? And that's what they're really concerned about, okay? Because that is a competent strategy, right? When you hire somebody like Scott Presler, who is somebody that I can say from a merit perspective, this guy has worked his ass off to register voters okay, to go out and to vote Republican, okay, to increase the size of the party, you're seeing changes be put in place that is actually going to move the needle. Okay, this woman would be more than happy to have the RNC and the GOP continue with business as usual, right? Business as usual is the Ronald McDaniels, the Mitt Romneys, the Mitch McConnells running the party, okay, and being okay with basically losing and occasionally compromising with Democrats, right? That's essentially what the GOP has become, okay? They become a loser party, okay, that basically is opposed to Democrats most of the time, but then every now and then they agree with, you know, the Democrats, right? And they do something. Like, for example, this TikTok thing. The GOP spends most of their time denying Democrats, saying no to Democrats, but not advancing their own agenda. Or put it this way, they might do it, but they don't actually really talk about it. They don't come out here and really educate people on what they're doing. Like, for example, when it comes to the border, okay, I think that the GOP has done a piss poor job of talking about the Secure the Border Act, right? And I think that they have to do a better job of letting the American people know that, hey, this is what we have done. This is what we're trying to do. Okay, here are the obstacles in the way of us actually doing it. And this is why you need to vote for us. Okay, this is why you need to allow us to expand our lead in the House and to take back the Senate. Right? They do a piss poor job of that. Instead, is extremely fragmented. Okay, the only thing that they can agree on is that, well, we don't like Democrats, and then occasionally, you know, they'll agree with Democrats on something to try to get some stuff done when they have to. Okay, when there's some type of corporate interest at play, like, for example, when it comes to fighting a war, right, or a stimulus package during a pandemic to keep corporations alive, yeah, they'll agree to come together with Democrats and to work together on stuff. But when it comes to their own agenda, it seems as if they're afraid to push that. And we have to move past that, okay? The MAGA party has to be a party with a vision, and we're actively always pushing that vision, always pushing legislation, okay? When Democrats come out here and talk, they tell you, hey, here's our agenda. This is what we want to do. Here are the bills that we have to do it, and this is why you need to vote for us so we can pass this bill and that bill in order to accomplish X, Y, and Z, right? Republicans don't do that, right? And they definitely need to start doing that. That is important, okay? Because otherwise, when you appear to be the party of just no, and you never say yes to anything because you don't have your own solutions, that's a problem, right? That means that you are going to remain in the minority because people aren't motivated to vote for you. They're just motivated to vote for you to be against Democrats, not necessarily because you have a vision. And a good example is what's happening right now with Ben Shapiro getting a ton of backlash for his position on Social Security, right? He came out and he talked about Social Security and how the system is a Ponzi scheme and how we need to raise the retirement age and the idea of retirement is stupid and, you know, a lot of stuff that is just extremely unpopular, right? It's not things that people are really going to want to hear, okay? And it's like, yeah, I mean, the system is unsustainable, okay? And we definitely need to rework the system. But when you have people that work hard jobs, okay, they're roofers, they're firefighters, they're police officers, they're physical laborers that want to retire at 55, 60, 65 years old and to enjoy the rest of their life, okay, and they paid into Social Security, you need a plan to replace it so that people can feel confident that, hey, I'm voting for the GOP and they're going to guarantee that I can retire, okay, and be financially secure in a way that is fiscally responsible for the country, okay? That's what I'm talking about, okay? So, again, what you have with the RNC here, I think is a step in the right direction in the sense that they're actually really presenting a vision. They're saying, this is what we want to do. This is our goal. This is how we're going to achieve the goal. And that is a breath of fresh air for the Republican Party. Okay. And again, as you can see here, the mainstream media freaking out about it, getting mad about it, upset about it, tells you everything you need to know, right? They don't like a Republican Party with a real vision and a real plan. And that seems to be what the, new takeover of the RNC is doing, right? They're bringing a real vision and a plan for how they're going to win elections. And again, the mainstream media reaction tells you everything you need to know about that, right? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.